What's poppin', man? It's Audio Al, and you're listening to Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix right here on YouTube, Spotify, or any of your favorite streaming apps.
That was nice and quiet for everybody. They'll enjoy that. It is Tuesday, December 14th, 2021. It is 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Currently 6 p.m. here in Mexico, Cancun specifically. It's going to be a great show. Podcast 92, is it already the 22nd episode of 2021? It has to be, because it's definitely not going to be the 12th episode. So this is the 22nd podcast of... Shit, dude. That's a lot of podcasts. Anyways, we got a good show for you. We're coming at you live from Mexico. Partly from Mexico. We are international. Let's see other podcasts go international like us. They can't do it like us. Josh, I'm feeling particularly happy. I guess I don't care how you're feeling. So we're going to hap right into it from Walters. Walters?
Welcome to the Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix with your lovely hostesses, Garlic Johnson.
We're going to need to take a break here while I change my pants.
And Josh Mitchell.
Sitting here undefeated in everything I do, except fantasy football. No, I'm not allowed to handle crayons.
Not after last time.
Not after last time.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, Garlic and Josh.
Thank you, Walters. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix podcast. I'm one of your lovely hostesses, the Garlic Johnson. We are joined, as always.
Hi.
Josh kind of jumped the gun there. Easy, pal. By our other lovely hostess, the Joshua Mitchell. He already said hi to you folks out there. HiddenOaksOverdose.com is a place where you can find stuff about our league. I'll plug that first this week, just so I don't feel like Josh has to feel like he's always playing second fiddle. We've also got a Discord if you'd like to chat with us 24/7 about football or whatever else. Anchor.fm/hoodpod is where you can leave us voicemails. Josh, I think it's possible that the people out there might have forgotten they can leave us voicemails. May or may not have a dead Fave Favre, as Al foretold. We'll find out by the end of the show, but anchor.fm/hoodpod, just in case anyone has forgotten. You can also email us if you'd like to kick it a little more old school, hiddenoaksoverdose@gmail.com. Segment start times down in the description below. You know the deal with that. And thank you at Levi Oki Illustration for all the beautiful art peeps are seeing right meow. Josh, how we doing?
As you know, I returned to work last week, Thursday.
You put in your 2 weeks yet?
Nope, tomorrow.
Okay. Well, I mean, will they miss you, or will they just, you'll go back to being gone?
Yeah, I think that there'll be a sudden miraculous cure of COVID in the building, and everyone's allowed to return to the office, and they'll have parties and fiestas, as they call it, down where you are.
Dude, a fiesta does sound nice.
Yep. No, I haven't put in a 2 weeks notice yet.
All right. Well, what's you've got, obviously I'm in Mexico. That's no news to anyone. For Chit Chat, though, you wrote something down here. What's your Chit Chat, Josh?
Yeah, felt it was about time we named the show End of an Era. This is it, Gar. It's over. This is the last show. The last show in which Josh Gordon was on a winning roster for a guillotine league.
Oh, no. Josh, say it ain't so. You got the chop?
Yep, no, I once again had the biggest letdown of all letdowns, starting with Jack's curse on Thursday night, 4 minutes into the game when Justin Jefferson scored, when he tossed out the whole, "You gonna complain now that you're projected to win?" Well, as he knows, he's a curse, and went and relied on Kyler. I can't throw the ball over the line because the grass on the field is taller than me, Kyler Murray.
You're not salty at all, to be clear to the folks at home.
No. And then, Joe Mixon over here pooping his pants on the field probably. But yeah, so the consecutive win streak for Josh Gordon and I guess Kareem Hunt is 30. So for those of you in guillotine and you want to try and chase excellence, you have to have the same player on your winning roster for 30 consecutive weeks.
That's pretty good. That's nothing to shake. What was the phrase? Shake your nose at? I don't know. I don't understand a lot of these old phrases that are just words. But shake your fist at doesn't really make sense, because you'd shake your fist at things you're angry at, right? I don't know. I don't get it. Maybe Brian can help us out with these old person analogies and metaphors. But I'm sorry to hear your era has ended, Josh. It was a good guillotine run. Going back to back would have been pretty improbable, though. So to survive as long as you did in season 2 is pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot to talk about for myself in Mexico. Obviously, I'm in Mexico. According to Brian, I won't be returning for some reason, or something's going to happen to me in Mexico. I guess I don't know. Maybe I'll return eventually with something stuffed up my bungholio, but yeah, I don't know. Mexico's pretty good, man. This is my first time ever doing an all-inclusive. I'm not sure all-inclusives are quite worth it for the sober folk. I've definitely watched every single member of my family already earn twice their all-inclusive upfront investment just through all the liquor drinks they've been, mowing down. They would make Mr. Leahy blush at this point, but it's certainly nice to not have to worry about where your wallet is ever. Pretty much all the food you want is included. There's some things you could get upcharged for, this or that, but going on vacation and not ever worrying about your wallet is once, that's a pretty sweet feeling. So if you're a peace of mind person, all inclusive is worth it. But if you're a sober folk, all-inclusive might not be your thing, but I'm having a really good time eating lots of good food, lots of pools. I sat by the beach pretty much all day today. Had to make sure I was fully zen. I fully meditated for the show today, Josh, just so I could bring the best possible product to our fans, even from a different country, Just trying to do the best I can.
Cool.
You ever been to Mexico, Josh? You ever coming down?
Yeah, I've been down. I crossed the border a couple times. Well, to get in and then to get out, I guess, but... I went down. It was for a church mission trip, though. So I went to Juarez, which, if you're wondering, is probably one of the more dangerous cities you can go to. So yeah, we built a house in the center of the city, and I don't know. I'm pretty sure that I think I have both my kidneys, but I swindled. I remember the trip and building the house, and we slept in the base or a church's gym floor. And I remember waking up, going to the bathroom because, Mexican food, middle of the night. And all of a sudden, a cockroach crawls out of the wall, and it was the size of a size 10 shoe. It was monstrous. And I said to myself, nope, not going to do this right now. So then I just held it and went to bed. And then I did swindle a lady at the border out of some money. Because I bought my mama a nice vase as a gift on my way home. Mm-hmm. And it was like a hand-painted, handmade vase. And she's asking...
Some high-quality shit we're talking here.
Oh, yeah. She was asking $35 or something like that. And I was like, nah, all I got is 10. And she's like, fine, 10 works. And I handed her 20. She had a bad face on her mouth.
Oh, Josh, you swindler. All right, well, we're a bit over, but, we'll be able to save some time later, hopefully. So let's get moving into that FanTASTY zone, though, Josh. Who brings us the FanTASTY zone, as we all know, each and every week? Who might be listening live right now? Don't screw this up for us. We need money next year.
Sky Busters. Pew, pew, pew.
Nice. They are, in fact, busting the sky. No one knows what they do, but maybe that's their business model, Josh. You got any food sponsors there, pal?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Gar, because this is one of the weeks that I actually managed to refrain from eating it. I am currently having a delicious half can of peaches out of a regular drinking glass because we are out of bowls.
Out of bowls, meaning you've just been too lazy to do dishes. Or out of bowls, meaning you have broken them all.
We're out of bowls because dishes are dishes,
Amen. Any beverages over there?
I have some Disaronno.
Ooh, on the rocks, pal?
Hell yeah, brother.
Nice. Well, I'm sitting here. I figured I have to have at least one Mexican thing. I doubled down and got two. I'm sitting here with a concha, which, if anyone isn't familiar, it's like a little, it's basically a roll. It's more like a pastry, might be stretching it, but it's definitely a breakfast bread item. So I'm sitting here with a concha. I also have Mexico's finest tap water. I only left the resort once for this because I figure all the water coming through the tap on the resort's probably purified and filtered and this and that. So I got a trip out to the finest gas station I could find. Put a nice, lovely mug up to the spigot in the bathroom, and I got a mug full right now. And I love Mexican tap water, so it might be better, even better than Derek's basement tap water, if you could believe it, Josh.
Yeah, I don't want to tell you that you're falling right into Brian's trap of dying on the trip, but you're either going to die or you're probably going to lose 50 to 75 pounds on your trip from just crapping your brains out.
Well, I could, Josh, there's not many people on this planet that could stand to lose 75 pounds and be perfectly fine. I happen to be one of them, so I think that'd be okay. But let's keep her moving, Josh. Gridiron Gossip, that'll be real quick. We gave the folks a week off because I'm on vacation. Not that the Gridiron Gossip has been bustling lately anyways, but I'll tell myself I gave everyone a vacation since I myself got a vacation. Josh, I neglected to, and I guess also you neglected to, but I usually do it. Remind the folks about the last massive poll, so we didn't really get too many more votes on that. I think just one more. But I saw you've put out a new massive poll since then. You want to talk about your massive polls, Josh?
Yeah, I was perusing the subreddit of the football of fantasy, and they had like what people do to determine a wild card slot, and I'd think that in our 14-team league, the 7th slot is kind of like that wild card. But if we were to add another one, I asked, or if your league were to add one, I asked what people would want for a determining factor. Overall record, so something boring, something 8th best team or 7th best team gets in. Most points for. So the team that scores the most points and might not have the best record, they would make the playoffs. Lowest point differential, so close matchups, and then wild card spots are silly. And right now we have 3 votes for most points for and 1 for wild card slots are silly. And sure enough, it was Audio Al. Well, Al, why would you say something like that? I'm trying to help you make the playoffs since it's been so long.
Ouch. So what did you think about your own poll, Josh? Did you vote for the most points for, or where'd you vote? Is it because you were neglected from maybe a certain league this year's playoffs, even though you had a great amount of points for?
I hope a shark crawls out of your toilet and eats you at night. No, I just saw it and I thought it was interesting. I was like, that's actually a good idea because, then it's something different, and then it makes people who know that they're not going to make it into the playoffs on their record alone, keeps them in the hunt, just trying to get more points. Odds are, if they're not going to make it in the playoffs, they're not going to have many points, but whatever. And yeah, I know I just ripped Al for not making the playoffs, and I was trying to help him, but yeah, my fantasy season is officially over now that Guillotine's done.
Oh, no. And it looks like, I can't see everyone. It does look like Al left, though. So, Josh, I think you hurt his feelings, and I think you're going to owe Al a big, fat apology for what you did. Maybe put it on the air right now. What do you have to say?
Sorry, Al.
Wow, that was heartfelt.
Also,
folks. You could feel it.
Also, where's Jack's warning for starting Tyler Higbee and deflate these balls? I've been looking at the chat all morning.
You started Tyler Higbee or what?
No, Jack did.
The controversy, Josh. You have to get to the bottom of it. But we can keep moving. Josh, you and I personally would like to very much thank the Skybusters for that fat, dummy thick check he ripped us earlier this season to sponsor the FanTASTY Zone for X amount of episodes. And so we appreciate the Skybusters for doing just that. Bust those skies, you busters. We'll move on to Guards Grinder just real quick. And I feel like it's been a while since I've done it too seriously. It's been a while since I've done a homer pick. It just felt right giving Dalvin Cook the Guards Grinder this week. Thursday Night Football does seem like ages ago, but the dude had 27 rushing attempts for 205 yards. I think that's just 2 beneath his career best, if I am remembering that correctly. 7.59 yards per carry off that. 2 rushing touchdowns. Also had a reception for 17 yards. Kirk was a bit off on this Pittsburgh Thursday night game, and obviously the Vikings were about to choke it at the end there. But Dalvin Cook is the reason we dominated and won that game for so long. Dalvin Cook was that game, so he is more than worthy of being this week's Guards Grinder. So big shout out to Dalvin Cook for helping me win a couple fantasy matchups, but also helping Minnesota make sure we finish that 8-9 or 9-8 so we can draft the next Christian Ponder. Shout out.
Hell yeah.
Let's move on to the old podcast play along, Josh. And I was somehow able to trick FanDuel into letting me get in for just a moment to see how people finished. I could not log back in today, so I could not find a player, but we'll get to that in just a moment, Josh. I'll ask you, Josh, who were the top 3 teams, maybe specifically the second place team, who rocked week 14 of the podcast play along, and why are they so handsome and the best commissioners and the best podcast hosts and this and that?
Yeah, so in the overall standings, top 3 right now are Lolo Loves Football, Carrot 21, and Big Kush.
Josh,
All right,
you
for the
seem,
week, it was
Josh. Whoa! You seem to have skipped a very important part of the notes there, sir. In all caps,
Yeah.
so you couldn't miss it.
Yeah, Lola Loves Football led the FanDuel with 140, and then dropping way down in the second was Gar with 123.12. And then we got Cody, the fake person, with 121.3. Overall standings right now, Lolo Loves Football just tearing us apart with 763.84. And then we got Carrot 21 with 742.7. And then the Big Cushy Man's back in the top 3 with 742.48.
I mean, he was in the top 3 last week, but
you got me confused because you have a name called David in
I know
last week's top 3.
you named him
I
Big
haven't
Cushy
touched my
Man
notes in a while.
initially, and I've
Screen
just
away.
left that note there since it started. So you did this to yourself, really.
Yeah, well, tomatoes. Yeah, so that was last week's results. Hey, Gar, how'd you do on your studs and duds?
Well, Josh, I did better than you, and I will just point out that Larissa has actually padded her lead a bit last week in the top 3. She was still in first, but she had 747.5, and so as Josh just mentioned, she moved up in the standings to 763.84, so she actually increased her lead about 15-ish points. So Larissa might be untouchable at this point. We were saying that about David forever, but so obviously Larissa isn't untouchable, but she has hoisted herself a hefty lead. And if 140 or whatever her lowest score is, that's going to be hard to touch. But moving on to Josh's question about my studs and duds, Josh, I think this might have been my I shouldn't say this as a podcast, so this is probably my best week though at picking a player. T. Higgins, wide receiver for Cincinnati, Brian. Again, that's T. Higgins, wide receiver Cincinnati. He could have been on your squad for a mean 68 hunch. They were playing San Francisco, and he got 13.9 points. I didn't do the math exactly, but that's over 2 times the value, just over 2 times value. I'd say that's a stud for 68 hunch, getting basically 14 points. I'll take some stud verification on that. How'd you do, Josh?
Yeah, I had my stud of the week was Jamar Jefferson, running back for the Lions. He was worth 51 hunch. He didn't see a snap. He played. I mean, he was in the game. I think he did some special team stuff. So, hey, he made it to the NFL. He's a stud.
So what you're telling me is the guy you picked got 0 points?
Yeah, which might have to do with why I finished 13th. Hey, Gar, why don't you go and check the overall standings, bud, and tell me how the weather is down there?
Well, Josh, all I care about is what's in front of my face right now, and what I see is I got second place in the most recent contest, and I don't see your name anywhere. So, Josh, for you...
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Bingo. Thank you, Fred the Fish from SpongeBob. But yeah, that was the podcast play along. Because Josh, have you picked anyone for this week? Because I literally cannot get into the app. I don't know anyone about anything this week.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take a couple weeks off just so I can get ahead of everybody again and start winning. I'm sick and tired of giving out my hot takes. So yeah, we'll let everybody figure it out themselves this week.
Sure. I mean, I know we have an even more limited pool than usual because obviously there's the Thursday night game, the Sunday night game, and the Monday night game we can't pick from. But there's also 2 Saturday games this week. So for people who have not been paying attention to football, there are 2 games on Saturday this week. That's the Raiders playing the Browns and the Patriots playing the Colts. So you can't pick from those player pools either. If just looking at this very, very quickly, if I had to pick one player just randomly, I'll go ahead and I'll take... Holy shit. I don't like any of this. I'll take Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp's been absolutely dominant. They're playing Seattle at $325 on Sunday. I'll take Cooper Kupp. I don't know what he's worth. It's probably going to be $9,000, maybe $9,500 to put Cooper Kupp on your team. But he's going to get you 30 points. So Cooper Kupp will be my stud of the week. Josh, do you have a bit of a yoker for us, as they would say here south of the border?
Yeah, I feel like with the Thursday night game being your grinder, I'm going to have to go with it as my joker as well with Chase Claypool. He's just had kind of a rough couple weeks, it sounds like. He got benched for fumbling it early in the game. He got, although I think he was down technically, but he got benched for that. And then he poked a guy in the ear, gave him a wet willy. And so I just don't know. And then in the last 30 seconds of the game, he was celebrating a first down instead of getting the ball to the ref so he could place it. And so he's just been a joker lately. Obviously he's young, he's got some stuff to do, but if his IQ doesn't go up or if football IQ doesn't go up, he's going to be classified as a dumbie for a while.
Yep, that's Canada's finest export right there, Chase Claypool. I don't know if he's that much of a dumbie. I mean, the celebration was unnecessary, but I don't know. I don't know how much it really drastically affected the game, but I get where you're coming from, and I know there's
I don't think it.
Go ahead.
I don't think it affected it too much. I mean, it's just kind of his whole last couple weeks as a whole, asking for music at Coach, we should play some music in practice. And this is a second-year guy talking to a coach who's been in the league for 400 years. And the franchise has been around forever, so it's and they haven't had any music. But second-year wide receiver, let's do it. But so I don't know. I just think he's kind of a joker.
Sure. Well, that's a great thing about this country. You're allowed to have your opinion, whatever it may be. That was Josh's Joker. We'll go ahead and move in here to the Hidden Oaks highlights with a segment start time of about 21 minutes and 5 seconds. Josh. Oh, boy, Josh. This is why everyone is listening to the show this week. It's fucking happened. It's happened. Christmas has come early for garlic, Josh. Why? I'm too excited to be able to coherently talk right now. Why? Why am I so excited for this segment, specifically the beginning of this segment, Josh? What has happened?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, specifically the boys, Garlic Johnson has won his first side bet in his career. The Rogers Family Christmas. The team with the biggest margin of victory. Now, there are a couple question marks, maybe a few asterisks that need to get put out there. But he did go up against his former co-owner, Garrett, who happens to be his former co-owner in Dynasty. So, what do you say, folks?
Are you saying Garrett took a fall?
I'm thinking, Garrett took a fall similar to what Chris Farley took in Black Sheep.
Wow, Josh, that's the fact that you're sitting here questioning Garrett's character of all people. Garrett's character, Josh? I'd be much more soon to question your character 4 times than before I ever questioned Garrett's character. How dare you?
How dare you? How many man championships has Garrett won?
Oh, Josh, what year are we going back to? How petty do we have to be? You can't just be happy by the fact that I won my first ever side bet after we've given out like 53 side bets.
I'm only salty because you missed the parade I threw for you.
I do have the sound ready. I just want to use it just because if I was playing in Halo, this is the medal I would get for getting my first side bet after 4 years of trying.
Unfreaking believable.
Thank you, Halo announcer guy. But yeah, I won the side bet. I was also the Astros blowout of the week. I blew out Garrett 161.1 to 87.55. That's a 73.55 differential. So even if Garrett did take a bit of a fall, putting up 161 points is no easy feat, they'll have you know. So I will take that $5 and stuff it right into this G string. Josh, who was involved in the nail biter this week?
Well, it was Brian and me, I like to be a people pleaser, so I went and took the fall, lost to Brian, 127.2 to 116.2, which was 11-point differential. Yeah. Barf. I really want to go through and compile the stats for my quarterbacks. I guess this week was good for me, but my quarterbacks and kickers. My kickers, I don't think I've had a kicker get more than 3 this year.
Why is that, Josh?
Well, I think it's because I'm terrible and bad and just awful all around.
You thought about being better?
Nope.
And Jesse's complaining about the side bets. Jesse, you didn't win one this year, and I think Jesse is the only person to not win a side bet this year, unless Josh, did you win? Yeah, you won a side bet. You won like week 13
I won
right,
last
or week
week.
12. Yeah. So Jesse, I think you're the only person not win a side bet this year, but you have won a side bet in the history. You've only won one, so now you and I are tied all time for just having one side bet. But yeah. So you did the nail biter, Josh. Ooh, and I should have done the nail biter myself because you have to do your highs and lows table. But Josh, let's hear some lows and let's hear some highs from the week, huh, pal? These are some big matchups here going to the playoffs.
I'm going to skip the actual points that they put up and just read through the names. and then the total, because then I'm going to do the high of the highs and the low of the lows for the entire season, regular season. So in the lows for quarterback, we got Lamar. Running backs, James Robinson and something, I think Godwin and Boyke, Lions running back. And then wide receivers, Terry McLaurin and Sterling Shepard. Tight end was someone left Higbee in their lineup in another league. Flex, Justin Jefferson or Jamar Jefferson. Defense, Buffalo. And then kicker was the Johnson from whatever team. That roster would have gotten you 2.1. The highs for the week, Josh Allen, Dalvin Cook, James Conner. And then wide receivers, we got Devontae Adams and Cooper Kupp. And then we got George Kittle at tight end. In the flex, Hunter Renfrow, the 40-year-old math teacher who somehow finds a football field. Dallas was the best defense. And then the kicker was Prater. That would have gotten you a 275.2. Now, we've been doing this all season. I went back and I crunched the numbers, did the math, carried my fours. The high of the highs, the best week that we had as a league was week 5 when we put up 291.1 points for the high roster. Nikita and Jeremy were probably the reasons for it because of the, 10 players, they had 6 of them. So they each had 3 players on the top list there. And then this past week, week 14, was the lowest score we've ever had for a combined score.
Really?
And it's probably because we had 2 Lions running backs, one in the flex and one in the actual running back spot. But then we also had the McLaurin injury, the Lamar injury, James Robinson filming Urban Meyer with that co-ed, which is why he's been benched lately. Tyler Higbee, who didn't play. Buffalo up against Tampa Bay. And then my kicker luck. So, yeah, makes sense.
Gotcha. For Jesse and Brad listening, I just tagged you, but I posted the payments for the side bets this year and the side bets all time. So just so you can see all the records there. But interesting. So week 14 was the lowest, huh? And you peg it all back to Detroit running backs?
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure the -5 doesn't help either, but yeah, that's just a brutal. And Terry McLaurin getting me 0. That doesn't help nothing neither, dude. Oof and a duh. But okay, Josh, those were some highs. Those were some lows. I know we talked about it last week. The matchups going into the playoffs weren't very sexy, weren't very exciting. It was pretty much all decided. But now that everything's officially official, we got some playoff matchups. Before we dive in, we won't go through every team or every game necessarily, but we do want to take a little bit more time. The
hold on
playoffs
here.
are a bigger deal. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Did I miss something?
I figured that you were going to have some sort of ditty planned for Jeremy getting his first loss of the season.
Well, I mean, Jeremy's not here. I mean, he certainly lose some satisfaction shitting on a guy who's not here. But, despite how dominant he was and despite the fact that he could have had like 4 bye weeks if he wanted them, he will in fact go down as not having an undefeated season. No one has ever had an undefeated season in this league. Jeremy will also not be on that list of undefeated seasons. So, he just lost straight up. It looks like he tried to win. I think was Jonathan Taylor on a bye, I believe.
Yep.
So I'm sure that was the major factor. But yeah, sometimes teams that could go undefeated decide the rest of their starters. Sometimes you're just bad. So Jeremy will not go undefeated. Sorry about that, Mr. Jer Bear. But yeah, suck it, nerd. No undefeated teams here, even with the extra game. Is that satisfactory, Josh? You have anything you want to say about Jeremy?
Nope. I think Jeremy's a great guy. I'm never going to put him down.
You brought it up just so I could put him down, huh? All right. But yeah, Josh, so what do you think about these playoff matchups, huh? We got the number. So Jeremy gets the bye. He was undefeated. We have 7 playoff teams out of a 14-person league. So the number 2 seed is playing the number 7 seed, the number 6 and the number 3, and then 4 and 5 are playing each other. What are you thinking here? I mean, Eric got the last playoff spot. I guess, anyone who's in the league will know, and anyone who's listening along probably doesn't care too much, but Jamie did not upset. Eric got the last playoff spot and then actually took Bradley's 6 seed, so Bradley got knocked down to the 7 seed. But what are we thinking here, Josh? What's the mood? What's the projection? What's the prognosis?
Well, I guess I don't want to make a projection saying Nikita's going to beat Brad and move on because my fantasy season has been cursed all year. But I think that there's going to be, I think it's going to be some good matchups. I think that the one that's going to be the biggest blowout is you over Jesse, because he just somehow managed to make his way in. Has he even gotten rid of all 3 of his tight ends, or does he still have 3 of them?
I mean, let's be clear. Jesse is a higher seed than me, Josh, and I think he's been putting up. He has plenty of points forward. Jesse is known to. Jesse's not someone who will go quietly here, I don't think.
First ever champion, you're right.
Currently, I mean, I'm not sure what ESPN is using, but currently Jesse has 100% win probability. We're both projected 0 points, but Jesse currently has 100% win probability. So I don't know if I like this. I feel like ESPN is the fix is already in somehow. So that's not good precedent, I don't think, going into the game.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see how things shake out. Obviously, Jeremy on the bye. That would have been interesting to see how he would have done against a team. Did last week get in his head? Is he rattled? Is it just going to be a downhill slide from here? Did he blow his load too soon?
Very possible. I would like to go back to. Oh my God! I just knocked my mic around because I don't have it on a stand like I usually do. So I would like to go back to Brian. Emailed us his predictions at the beginning of the season, and we can refer back to them later as well. But so he said these were Brian's predictions before the season even started. So here's the predictions. Final 4. He says Skybusters are going to finish 4th place, I believe. No, he's just saying his final 4 are Skybusters, Catch 22, which is Hammer, Lambeau Fields, which is Josh, and DK Racing. He then has Hammer beating Lambeau for the ship. So currently, Brian has 2 out of 4 final 4 potentially correct. Definitely, there will be no championship matchup between Hammer and Josh, though. So just wanted to give a shout out.
Maybe he was give him a chance to explain himself. Maybe he was projecting, 2 players that are going to make it to the top 4 in the championship bracket and 2 players that are going to make it to the top 4 in the consolation bracket.
That's a possibility for sure. I'm just saying, if you go back to Brian's predictions from September, he's saying that DK Racing and himself are going to move on here into the final 4. So just figured I'd give that a little tease before next week happens.
Okay.
Predict the 3 matchups, Josh. We won't go through, like I said, they're not even fully projected yet. But it's me versus Jesse. It is Brian versus Eric, and then Bradley versus Nikita, right?
Brian, Nikita.
Brian, Nikita, huh? So you're just shitting all over Jesse. You're shitting all over Bradley, huh?
No, I'm just predicting who's going to win.
Even the handsome Eric, Mr. Szymanski, making his first playoffs, you don't think he's going to do it?
Well, he barely snuck into the playoffs, so I'm just going with the team that was there before.
All right, Josh, if you say so. Okay. Well, I mean, if that's how you feel, Josh, that's how you feel. If anyone else would like to predict the matchups, again, it's me versus Jesse. Obviously, Jesse's going to lose. No fucking question there. And then it is Bradley versus Nikita. And then Eric versus Brian. No, anyone who's not in the league won't know who that is, but if you'd like to predict, go ahead and throw that into the Hidden Oaks Highlights chat box, and we'll come back next week and see who predicted the correct 3 winning teams. People in the consolation bracket are still playing for some bucks and for some ping pong balls and to not get the dumpster fire medallion, but we won't follow that too closely, at least not after the first week. We're going to try the Hunger Games bit here, Josh. I don't know how well it'll work when I'm down to one screen here, but we're going to go ahead and give it our best college try. Josh, are you ready to basically hear your own death, or is that going to be a little too traumatizing for
you? Whoa. I'm still in the playoffs, Gar.
Oh, are you? Please tell me more about that real quick.
Well, the question is, do I have a game next week?
I think you do have a game next week, yeah.
So am I eliminated? Nah.
You got me. All right, let's see if I can get this volume thing right. That's hella quiet, but that's going to have to be good enough. It was a long season, hard fought. Many handsome men and women fell in battle. Joshua Mitchell has left us. Garrett Flint is no longer. Tyler Lawrence is hilariously dead. Jamie couldn't save herself as the doctor. Thanks for playing the Hunger Games, nerds. Better luck next year. There will be 3 more dead participants to announce next week. All right, Josh. Should we hear from the just mentioned their medical doctors? Is there anything else you want to say about Hidden Oaks and any sort of highlight? Do you want to talk about the Dynasty League real quick? Do you want to talk about redraft? Anything else you want to say about the Hidden Oaks leagues before we move into the medical minute here?
Nope, medical minute. Let's keep her rolling.
Rolling, huh? Okay. Well, I am struggling to function just slightly because, like I said, one screen, so I can't just quickly click. But we're pretty much ready here. Josh, Bradley was asking a question in the Discord just a couple days ago. He said, is it normal to sleep 16 hours? Or no, he didn't put it in the Discord. I think he either texted it to me or he put it in the Greasy Fuck Snapchat group. That's what it was. Bradley was asking if it was normal to sleep 16 hours. I told him, no, you fucking lunatic. It is not normal to sleep 16 hours. But he asked anyways, and then Jamie was like, you know what? All these other topics that people have, proposed weeks ago, those are boring. I'm going to keep taking what's freshest, what's the cream of the crop, so to speak. So Jamie wanted to talk about sleep and whether or not Bradley's weird for sleeping 16 hours. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hear from Dr. Jamie Hammer as she talks about sleep.
Hey guys, Dr. Jamie Hammer here to talk about sleep. Yes, Bradley, it's weird if you're sleeping 16 hours a night. Sleep is a very important thing for us. It helps us conserve energy. People have actually studied that there's more growth hormone secreted at night. So if you're looking to get big muscles, you better get your good sleep to support that. It's also the time where all the metabolites that your brain produces throughout the day are sort of washed out of the system. It's almost like the septic waste system of the brain getting cleared out. And it also helps with brain plasticity and learning. They've shown that more of those synapses are sort of forming when a person is sleeping and putting things into their memory bank or washing them out. You can think of it sort of like the scene in the movie Inside Out that represents what happens when the kid goes to sleep. Weirdly scientifically accurate. Sleep typically looks like 2 different phases. You have the rapid eye movement phase of sleep and the non-rapid eye movement phase of sleep. There are different disorders that can sort of happen in both of those. During the rapid eye movement phase of sleep, you're supposed to be limp and your muscles very relaxed. But if a person has a REM sleep disorder, you can notice that they're acting out their dreams. And if a person has a non-REM sleep disorder, they might have trouble falling asleep initially, and then in the deeper phases of sleep, they might experience things like sleepwalking. So let's talk about how long people are supposed to sleep. Newborn babies, and also Bradley's, sleep between 16 and 18 hours a night. This is necessary because everything they experience is new, and with that brain plasticity thing we were talking about, they need plenty of time to process. When a person turns 1 year old, they usually need about 12 hours of sleep, and school-age kids need about 10 hours of sleep. When you start getting into adulthood, that's where you get into that main recommended time frame of sleep, and that's 8 hours. Some people need 6 hours and do just fine. Some people need 10, and it's all based off of people's ability to function with the amount of sleep. But when you start getting into the 65 plus age group, those retirees only need about 7 to 8 hours of sleep. I don't know if that's because they're not learning as much, if they've just gotten very talented at banking their memories and recycling their brain waste, but regardless, somewhere around that 8-hour time frame is where I suggest people to be. If you're noticing that you're having poor sleep or you need something along 16 hours of sleep, I want to check you for a couple of things. The first is, do you have symptoms of stopping breathing at night, which was what most people know as sleep apnea? This might be people waking up or snoring really loudly or waking up feeling short of breath or like they're choking. I also worry about mood disorders. Sometimes people with depression have a lot more difficulty getting into those deeper phases of sleep we were talking about, and they just need more high quality sleep, and so talking about mood is a great way to sort of approach that. We also just recently talked about seasonal affective disorder, and I know that a lot of people experience needing more hours of sleep to feel well rested in the winter. Other things that can affect sleep are alcohol, medicines, benzodiazepines. These things are all stuff we want to address when we're talking about people who are needing more sleep to get well rested. Finally, how do we talk about sleep hygiene? The big thing is not using TV and movies to help you fall asleep at night. Jesse. These things can keep your brain in sort of a more active phase, and although you feel like it's helping you fall asleep, it's actually sort of creating ineffective brain wave patterns. We also strongly suggest removing blue light, which can also trigger your brain to tell you it's awake time. Setting yourself up in a good environment, keeping a nice cool bedroom, using a pillow and a bed that is comfortable to you. And finally, if you need some support, starting something like a low-dose melatonin. You don't need anything more than 5 milligrams. Usually 2 is enough. And taking that early enough so that it gives your brain time to produce the melatonin and get you feeling a little bit sleepy before you try to fall asleep. If you're having any other issues in that, please hook me up in the Discord and I'll see if I can address them. Thanks.
Well, Josh, what'd you learn about sleep there, huh, pal?
I learned that when she talks, it puts me to sleep.
Whoa!
Got her.
Hey!
I'm just kidding. But hey, Jamie, do you want to do next week's on a sleep disorder, night terrors? Let's talk about night terrors.
Do you have night terrors? Is this personal for you, or?
Maybe. I've had a couple of them. It's. Let me tell you right now. I don't know the science behind it, but it is not fun.
Dang, I don't know if it's the same thing or if they're technically different. I know, like, what is it? Sleep paralysis is the thing. I know Jamie, at least at one point, I've heard Jamie in her life talk about having some sort of like sleep paralysis episode where you're sitting there and you're stuck and you can't do anything. It's like, it seems to be like a spiritual or like a supernatural thing almost, where you're like seeing a ghost or something. But that'd be interesting to hear about as well. I'm not sure if those are in the same category as night terrors, or if they're completely separate things. But
they're similar, I guess. That's how I guess without my I get my cran doctorate. I'd say they're pretty close.
So the consensus is, though, that Bradley is equal to an infant, and even if he's been awake for 28 hours, sleeping for 16 hours is not normal. Correct? That's what you heard. Dr. Jamie Hammer say?
Hang on here. Quit insulting Asher over here. My son is not like Bradley in any way, shape, or form. So.
That's all you have to say?
Yep.
All right, Bradley, you're weird. It's official. A whole ass doctor said you're weird. I don't care if you've been awake for 28 hours. All right. Yeah, I think that's enough. I mean, obviously, thank you, Dr. Jamie Hammer. I don't have a lot to say. I don't know much. Oh, one thing I wanted to say, and we'll move on. We'll wrap up with this, but so I've always heard that doctors recommend quote unquote 8 hours of sleep, but I won't pretend like I know a lot about sleep. I'm no sleep expert, but I know that sleep generally, sleep is just a combination of the REM cycles that Jamie was talking about, and REM cycles roughly run 90 minutes. So if you're sleeping in 90-minute increments, then really, 8 hours is not ideal because you don't want to wake up in the middle of a REM cycle. So it really, 7.5 hours would be approximately 5 REM cycles. I know not everyone, a REM cycle isn't exactly 90 minutes. So that gets a question for Jamie, and she doesn't have to do a whole, episode about this. She can just put it in the Discord. But is 8.5 hours really the recommendation? Or is that what doctors are saying? So people will fall asleep within the first 30 minutes, and they'll get, about 7.5 hours of sleep, or that, those 5 REM cycles. I've always been curious about that. Again, if you're sleeping in 90-minute increments, 8 hours doesn't add up perfectly. And you don't want to disrupt that deep sleep, from what I understand about it, at least. But maybe I'm wrong, because I ain't no fucking doctor. Josh, you think it's about time to move on to the old Fave Favre, huh? Fan favorite, totally not dead Fave Favre?
Yeah.
What's the topic this week, pal?
This week's topic is sports television shows.
And how many, Josh, if you had to guess, because we currently have 4 live listeners, Josh, so that sounds like a podcast to me, at least, that's not dead, and they're still listening now that we're talking about the Fave Favre. It sounds like the segment's not dead, Josh, but if you had to guess, how many fan submissions did we get this week for sports TV shows?
Well, seeing as we decided to narrow it down to just sharing one fan submission, I'm going to go with 475,000.
Well, no one but us, Josh, can verify whether or not we got 475,000. But you're correct, Josh. For this week only, maybe this week only. It could be multiple weeks, depending on what we decide. But we are only going to feature one fan submission this week. And looking at the length of the audio clip this sent in, I don't know if this will even be a fan submission, but we have it. So we will go ahead and hear our highlighted fan submission of the week, the best one. We picked the cream of the crop for this one. I don't even know if I want to play this, dude. Let's hear Audio Al's Fave Favre sports TV shows. God fucking help me.
Clear. Oh God, he's not breathing. He's not breathing. What do we do? I think he's dead. The Fave Favre is dead. 5:45 p.m. December 13th, 2021. We might need a medical minute on how to revitalize this thing. Catch you later.
I mean, what a great fan, one submission out of so many to feature. But he oddly got the time perfectly accurate. It is 5:44, as he said that, at least on my computer. So pretty much damn near got time of death right on. Josh, is the Fave Favre dead?
Yeah, but did he say the 13th though?
I don't know. I wasn't listening that closely. My heart was broken
right.
as the words were coming out.
Yeah, no, I kind of had a feeling that was going to be the gist of it. Yeah, I think he's about right. I think that the Fave Favre is dead, and I think that it's time that we might need to shift gears to another Hidden Oaks original next season. But I'm not gonna do too much except tease it right now.
Oh yeah, we've had so many good ideas, dude. You couldn't even imagine the ideas we've had to have our highlight segment where we get all our fan interaction be something different next year. That'd be. We've just so many good ideas. We're over the Fave Favre. The Fave Favre can't be dead. We killed it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're gonna finish the season with it because we're not gonna pivot now. But
yeah, no, I mean we gotta let people go. Oh God, is this show turning into the Victorious POD? Is it that far down the hill? Is the drain swirling? And then we just gotta kind of go. Coming to you next year in the 2022s, we've got. Yeah.
Bingo.
Right.
You gotta keep them wanting it, Josh. Keep it on the tip of their tongue. Let them guess. That's the best thing you can do for your fans. Let them guess what they want to hear. Be like, you know what? I think this would be the best segment. Josh and Gar are super smart. This is the segment I would do if I were them. That's what the fans should do. You should guess what's going to replace the Fave Favre if it is in fact dead. But Josh, we do have our own Fave Favres here, so let's not waste the people's time. We've only got about 10 to 12 minutes to go over our own stuff before we got to play the outro music and get the hell out of here. So Josh, what were you thinking about? Sports TV shows, we left it wide open. It didn't have to be like a newscasty type show like a Sports Center. Could have been like a dramedy or a drama. It could be completely fictional, this or that. Sports TV shows is pretty vague and pretty wide open. How did you view it as you were putting your stuff down?
If I saw anything that resembled an athletic or competition of any kind, I considered it for my Fave Favre.
That seems fair.
So I've got, so just a sneak peek at my Fave Favre in no specific order. I've got Celebrity Deathmatch, Beyblade, Rocket Power, and then Guts.
Guts, huh? That sounds like a pretty exciting list you were putting together there, Josh. Do you feel good about it? So good that you want the walk-off shot?
Oh, I'll take the walk-off shot, bro.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, if you got the walk-off shot, I'll go ahead and I will give my honorable mentions and then get into my Fave Favre list. So I was kind of racking my brain. I did a little Google search. I usually do a Google search just to make sure I'm not forgetting about something that I haven't seen for a while. But some of the shows that came up, I was surprised I didn't have more honorable mentions, I guess is the point I'm trying to get to. So, but I really always enjoyed Around the Horn. It seemed to always be on TV when I got home from school back in the day. It was just a kind of a fun, different spin on a sports show. And so I always enjoyed Around the Horn when I was just sitting there kind of bored waiting for other cool stuff to come on TV. All American's a really good show on Netflix. I believe it first debuts on the CW and then goes to Netflix, but All American, loosely based on a true story. Really good high school football story if you're interested in that. 30 for 30, just as a show in general, fucking whales. I didn't feel right picking the show in my Fave Favre just because I don't feel like I watch it as religiously or watch some of this, the specials of other people, but those are pretty cool. And Good Morning Football, they put out, 15 hours of content plus each week. I think they do a pretty good job. Is every minute a banger? Absolutely not, but I think Good Morning Football does a pretty good job. So those are my honorable mentions. But getting into my Favre, Josh, my Fave Favre sports TV shows, you knew it would be on the list, and I've really kind of fallen off from my fandom after years of being a pretty good fan. But WWE, I didn't pick Raw or SmackDown specifically, or NXT or the old ECW, whatever. I just put WWE generally. Lots and lots of hours of entertainment. Obviously, we know it's scripted. The results are fixed. But those people are putting their body on the line. Men, women, whatever they identify as. They are sincerely out there putting their body on the line for my entertainment. And it's led me a lot of enjoyment over the years. So WWE, my number 5 sports TV show. Josh, your honorable mentions, and then the number 5.
Yeah, my honorable mentions. I've got... Friday Night Lights, not as good as the movie, still a decent show. There's football involved. All American, as you mentioned. I got Eastbound and Down, another solid show. Guts, I mentioned in my joke show. And then, did I say One Tree Hill? One Tree Hill is on my honorable mentions. I like that show a lot. I watched that a couple times. And then Heels. Haven't finished it because they're trying to charge me for episodes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, but I ain't buying it. But the first 3 episodes were so good that it made my honorable mentions because I did enjoy quite a bit of it. Coming in at my number 5 spot. It's a show that inspired many. Probably made people cry more than it made it laugh. But the crying was from laughter, so I guess there's one and the same. It's The League. That is my number 5.
And do you want to talk any more about it? What did you love about The League so much?
I just liked how it is a very realistic take on what an 8-man fantasy football league is. I feel like back in the day when we were 8-man, that's kind of how we lived our life. Minus a lot of the things that they do, nearly everything. But hey, we had a Dre. We have one. I guess technically I have one in the Victoria's Secret League. I'm not going to name any Walterses, but we had a Rafi, Jesse. We have a Brad, tall guy. Yeah.
Brian, Kevin, whatever they want to identify as. But yeah, League, a great show. I guess I could have put it in the sports TV show, but it didn't come to my mind as I was going through the list or in my Google search. My number 3, Josh, I won't go too long and I don't have much to say about it, I'll be honest, but I really liked Ballers. HBO's Ballers. The Rock started it along with Rob Corddry. It's just a good show. I mean, it's football based. I'm a football fan. It's really my number 1 sport, my only sport, realistically. Is it the best show in the world? Absolutely not. But The Rock is cool and kind of a cool concept. So, yeah, Ballers is my number 3. That's really all I have to say about it.
That is a good show. That should have made my honorable mentions. My number 3, it's another show kind of around football. Loosely, I guess, if you want to believe some of the internet rumors, it's loosely based on, I believe it's Idaho State, but it's Blue Mountain State. It's a comedy show. I believe it was on Spike TV. You can find it on Amazon Prime now, I believe. They had a movie come out because they had plans for a final season, then it got canceled. But it's got 3 decent seasons on Prime, and then a movie documenting Thad Castle, who is an interesting individual.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that's an interesting show. I might check it out someday. Josh, my number 2. This one, if this isn't on your list, I honestly wasn't listening if it wasn't your honorable mention or not. But I mean, the Fox pregame, absolutely legendary. They've had some great comedy bits in there with Frank Caliendo, Rob Riggle, of course. The Fox pregame, just the chemistry they've had from these years and years of being together. Terry, Howie, Michael. I mean, they're just so good at what they do. And, I haven't really watched much of it this year, I'll be honest. Not having cable is kind of a detriment to the Fox pregame show, but they just have a good attitude about it, and I enjoy what they do. So Fox pregame show is my number 2.
Yeah, it actually did not make any of my lists. I don't watch it too much. Usually I'm busy doing things right up till game time, so sorry, Dad. But my number 2 is one that it's a recent show, I guess, but it's a very solid Netflix show. I didn't give it enough attention when it was just a YouTube special, but Cobra Kai. The legend of the true champion from the Karate Kid movies, Johnny Lawrence, and his dojo, Cobra Kai. Love that show.
What? Pick one thing you love most about it for the people at home, in case you could influence someone to watch this show, Josh.
Well, if you think Karate Kid was a kids movie, and you're kind of turned off by the idea that Cobra Kai is based off of that, it focuses on the adult characters quite a bit and the youth characters, but there's a lot of adult concepts in there. And Johnny Lawrence is basically, your drunk uncle, but he's trying to teach kids karate.
I'm in. All right, Josh, my number 1. This is going to be a show that maybe not a lot of people watched, but I watched every single goddamn episode. I was so sad more episodes weren't created, Josh. My favorite sports TV show of all time was Shaq Verse. It was a hilarious concept, as you can imagine. Shaq, a hilarious dude, just Shaq trying out other things he hasn't done, whether it's NASCAR, obviously he's done basketball, swimming. He did swimming with Michael Phelps. There was just a shit ton of stuff that Shaq was doing, being goofy in front of a camera. That's what Shaq does best, I think, is being goofy in front of a camera. And Shaqverse was a hilarious show. I loved it. I might even look him up on the internet once I get back home, just as some downtime thing to watch, to rewatch the Shaqverse. Love the show. Couldn't tell you why, but I felt pretty confident it wouldn't make anyone else's list. So that's my number 1, Josh. Shaqverse is my number 1 fave sports TV show.
Did you watch Pros vs. Joes?
Yeah, I've seen a bit of that. Not as good as Shaq verse, obviously.
I guess. Yeah, no, I haven't seen any of that, so I might have to check it out. But if we move on to my number one, it's one that I'm sure a lot of people have seen in the past. I know I haven't seen them all, but I have seen quite a few of them, and it's just given me a different outlook on a lot of the players that we all love to see in the NFL, and that is A Football Life. So it's something that you could find on NFL Network. And so they document, it's like an hour-long show about just the life of, certain football players, some things that you might not have known about them. So we talked about Barry Sanders. There's, I think there's a Brett Favre one. There's just everybody, Curtis Martin, guys that are, big names to a lot of guys. Brian probably recognizes a lot more of them than other guys because they are older players. But I learned that Curtis Martin, when he was like 7 years old, jumped out of a second-story window because he was locked in his room while his mom was getting beat up, and then he ran back in the house to tackle his dad. So that's a pretty cool, not cool, but learning that about a guy who had a very storied career in the NFL is nice to know that they're human too.
All right, yeah,
you can find them on YouTube.
I'm surprised Football Life didn't even make my honorable mentions. I'm a little sad about that, if I'm being honest, but that's the way she goes. Yeah, I think Josh and I both had pretty good lists this week. I'm pretty happy with that. And allegedly, Brian allegedly sent one in. There have been some troubles this week with the submissions not getting through. I don't send in the voicemails myself, so I'm not super familiar with the process. But it seems like sometimes they can get stuck loading on your phone for a while. So whether it's you're doing it through the app officially, or whether you're just on a web browser on your phone, or maybe you close your computer prematurely or get disconnected from the internet. I know we have had other people struggle with getting their voicemails in this week, this year. So allegedly Brian tried. So suck it, Al. We weren't officially dead because Brian tried, but it didn't come through for whatever reason. So one thing to watch out on is to make sure your submission gets through if you'd like to contribute to the Fave Favre. Speaking of the topic next, I just got Brian's list, and I'll just read it really quickly so I get out of here. But Brian said number 5 was NBA on TNT. Number 3 is poker. I'm kind of disappointed that poker wasn't higher on Brian's list. Number 2 is coach. And number 1 was hockey night in Canada. So Brian's Fave Favre made it in. Al, get fucked, nerd. Thank you, Brian, for your very late submission. Yeah, the topic for next week is... Oh boy. The topic for next week is single-player video games. So,
outside!
You think of like Skyrim, or, I'd count the Red Dead campaign. I know it has an online, but, it was originally made to be an online or a single-player game for sure. All the video games in Brian's day were probably meant to be single-player. I mean, multiplayer wasn't even a thing, right? Even though the first video game, Pong, was multiplayer. Who knows? Anyways, that's the topic for next week. Single-player video games. I'm sure we'll get so many submissions. We won't know what to do with them. You can still win the raffle, but it sounds like not too many people care about the raffle entries at this point. But you can still get potentially a T-shirt, potentially a hat, potentially a pennant. The swag basket is still pending. What exactly its contents will be, I'm working on it with Carmel Bear, though, if he would just stop dodging me. Josh, do you have any final words for the folks out there before we get the heck out of here?
Packers are the number 1 seed, so everybody say go Packers.
Go Packers. All right, engage the show, everybody. We got that Discord. You can chat with us 24/7. Anchor.fm/hoodpod is where you can leave us voicemails. HiddenOaksOverdose@gmail.com is where you can leave us emails. You can check out HiddenOaksOverdose.com. And that's all we got, folks. Thank you. I was here in Mexico. Josh was there in Big Lake. We love you for listening, especially those of you who listen live. We appreciate you getting in early, and we'll talk to you next week when I'm back in Minnesota. Bye.
Bye.
Or this Mexican tap water, dude. Parched after all that speaking.
I'd like to solve the puzzle. Go tuck yourself in.
You got it.
God damn it!
Somebody needs to mute that.